Frank Lampard has been appointed caretaker manager of Chelsea until the end of the season. The current situation now is a lot different than his last stint in charge. When Lampard was appointed manager at the start of the 2019-20 season, Eden Hazard had just left Chelsea to Real Madrid on a $100 million deal, and the club weren't allowed to make signings due to a transfer ban. Fast forward to the present day, and Chelsea are under new ownership and are the biggest spenders not only in the Premier League but in the world. With that said, the team still sits in the bottom half of the Prem standings. I've simulated until January and tried to reflect the club's current situation. Our goal in the Premier League is to qualify for some form of European football, and for the Champions League, it's to get past Real Madrid, who Chelsea have been drawn against in the quarterfinals. You look at some of these longer-term contracts, and I don't think we need to make further signings in January. However, there is one player whose contract I'd like to renew. It is none other than N'Golo Kanté, who's reportedly looking to extend his time at Chelsea for a further 3 seasons. We will also get a jumpstart to our youth academy via Oliver Dennis. The English striker is already 66 rated at 17 years old. He's got 77 to 94 potential, and when we take a look at his individual attributes, shooting is actually his lowest category, so we're going to make that position change to center back. I'll give him a +5 to his rating as he sits in our youth academy for the rest of the season. We begin with a 4-star, 5-star scout from England, adding another scout from England right away, along with another 5-star, 5-star scout from Greece. No specific game plan as far as which player to sign, so we'll scout for any type of player in England, as well as a network in Scotland searching for any type of player, rounding things out with the Republic of Ireland looking for any type of talent. If you're watching this before the Chelsea-Madrid game, leave your score predictions in the comments section. But we've already learned a little bit from Lampard's opening Premier League fixture against Wolves. No surprise that he opted for his preferred 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 formation that we'll be using in this rebuild. Unfortunately, we won't have João Felix or Zakaria, as they've been recalled by their original club due to lack of playtime. It means we'll need to rely on Kai Havertz as our player up top, optioning for a center forward position change. And for the most part, our home fixture went according to plan. Late into the match, it looked like things were going to be level, but Vinicius Jr. gave Madrid the go-ahead goal, and at the Estadio Bernabeu, it was always going to be a tough test. Militao scoring the decisive goal in the 89th minute to put Madrid through in the Champions League. Chelsea will need to go on a pretty good run of form if they want to qualify for European competition next season. We have a chance of doing so in this rebuild, a deciding fixture against West Ham that could see us leapfrog them in the table. With West Ham being the club that Lampard got his start at via the youth academy, this is an important fixture, especially at home. We want to give the fans something to cheer about after a season that has seen its fair share of changes. Personally, I don't mind the appointment of Lampard as manager until the end of the year. I think the fans can certainly get behind him, mostly from his time spent as a player, but he's had a couple of bright spots during his managerial career. Kai Havertz does give us the opener in this one just before the halftime break, and you can already see how much it means to him and the manager. Goal from the German international was enough to see out this victory as we win 1-0. And when things were all said and done, we will finish 7th place in the Premier League. Take a look at the league standings. The top 2 spots are extremely realistic. I wouldn't be surprised if the league was decided on the final match day. Can't say the same about the bottom half of the table, as Brentford finished bottom of the league, but Bournemouth and Crystal Palace will be joining them in the championship. As for the championship, Sheffield United and Norwich securing those automatic promotion spots, along with QPR, who win the championship playoffs. Liverpool defeat Manchester United in the FA Cup. They also win the Carabao Cup against Aston Villa. That's big for us because it means 7th place is enough to qualify us for the Conference League next year. Speaking of European competitions, Eintracht Frankfurt start off the season with a win in the UEFA Super Cup. Real Madrid go all the way to the Champions League final where they defeat PSG. RB Leipzig getting the victory against Eintracht Frankfurt in the Europa League final, and it's USG who make a surprise appearance in the Conference League final, defeating Villarreal. In what was Raheem Sterling's first season at Stamford Bridge, he leads the club in goals scored, 20 from 47. It ranked him as the 13th best goal scorer in the Prem. Harry Kane leading the league in goals scored, 25 from 38. A good goal output from Havertz. Despite only 35 appearances, he got into double digits for both goals and assists. He had the 9th most in the league, with Mo Salah leading the way, 16 from 38. We'll get an update on all of our youth academy players, starting with Dennis, still at that 75 rating. Albert Rose, though, might even surpass him as far as rating and potential goes. the English striker, while only 65 rated, has 91 to 94 potential. Jack McIntosh is the player that we found from Scotland. He's a 67 rated goalkeeper with 85 to 94 potential. Dara Kelly is the last player we managed to find. He's a 61 rated Irish right winger, still not eligible for promotion to the senior team, but he has 89 to 94 potential. When you try to add some realism to your saves, sometimes the manager rating takes a hit. We'll need to improve upon this in season 2. We'll move forward with the scenario that the Chelsea board has seen enough from Lampard's time as caretaker manager. The turnaround to the team's season has secured him the permanent manager job. That will come with its fair share of challenges. As for domestic success, we have expectations to win the league title, win the FA Cup, and also win the Conference League. We have 241 million in our transfer budget, plenty to work with, but we'll be spending some of that to complete some signings that have been confirmed. Christopher Nkunku set to join Chelsea in July 2023. The former PSG Youth Academy talent has thrived during his time at RB Leipzig, working best as a second striker. He's put in back-to-back double-digit goal seasons, and while this year hasn't been as spectacular as the year before, he's had a couple of injury problems, and hopefully he can adapt well to the Premier League. I wasn't able to find a finalized transfer fee, but we managed to secure Nkunku's signature for 75 million. It looks like he had his contract expiring because his current evaluation is already over 100 million. One of the areas that I think Chelsea needs to address is clearing out its excess of players. A lot can be said about Romelu Lukaku. Chelsea's signed him after his 24 goal contribution for Inter in the 2021 season. His loan spell back at Inter has not nearly put in the same numbers, so we'll be letting him leave to PSG, a club that actually has a couple of transfer ties to Lukaku in the past. It'll be a 50 million deal as the Belgian international heads to Paris. As far as who Chelsea's new number 9 could be, Victor Osimhen seems to be one of the leading transfer targets. He has improved every season at Napoli. This year he's already netted over 20 goals, and that number could go up. Gonzalo Ramos also on the radar of a lot of clubs. He scored a hat-trick during the World Cup, and he's seen increased involvement for Benfica this season. He'll probably surpass 20 goals as well. But with both of those players already completing moves to Manchester United and Newcastle United respectively, I'm going to opt for Tammy Abraham. Chelsea do have a 67 million buyback clause which they could activate this summer. While his goal numbers are lower this year, he put in a pretty good shift for Roma last season, and they are still making a strong charge in the Europa League. To date, Chelsea still haven't had a better striker since his departure. His 15 goals in the first season under Lampard brings back some memories that I'm sure the player would like to recreate. Finalized transfer fee ended up being exactly that 67 million buyback clause as Abraham signs on a 100 grand a week contract. Goalkeeper is another area that a lot of Chelsea fans are asking the club to address. As far as potential candidates go, David Raya certainly could be an option. The Spain international has been playing in England since 2012 as part of Blackburn's youth academy, but it's been under Brentford that he's really shined. If Chelsea can swing it though, Diogo Costa is my ideal signing. Now his second full season as Porto's number 1. He's got experience in the Champions League, and so many transfers from Liga Portuguesa have worked out well. You can look at Manchester City and the success that Ederson and Ruben Diaz have had, and even for Porto, you've got the likes of Luis Diaz and Eder Militao in recent years. In the end, it was a 50 million transfer. Hopefully we'll have a new long-term number 1 option, like Petr Cech was for Chelsea for such a long time. Mind you, he signed at Stamford Bridge when he was 21. Those 3 massive signings helped us achieve a brand exposure board objective, and now we can look at some further outgoing departures. Christian Pulisic has had transfer rumors tying him to Premier League and a lot of Serie A clubs. It was ultimately Milan that were willing to spend 55 million to secure his signature. Because we brought in another goalkeeper, I felt like letting Edouard Mendy leave to West Ham for 25 million. Malang Sarr will also be departing for Roma on a 10 million fee. With 3 new scouting networks, we will be keeping our scout in England for 9 months, searching for any type of player, also covering Wales for 9 months, looking for any type of talent. Northern Ireland is up next. We'll be searching for any type of player. But it's a Premier League season that'll see us start against promotion playoff winners QPR. Here is the new look starting 11. It's unfortunate to see the likes of Mason Mount demoted to the bench, but I couldn't see any way of fitting him into the starting 11. We'll just need to rotate players. Meanwhile, Kai can shift back to a right winger position where I think he could thrive if he's able to play that role for Chelsea. 2 of our new signings with Nkunku and Abraham scoring goals to kick off their Chelsea campaign campaign as we defeat QPR. A great start to the season for Chelsea and a great time to leave a like on the video if you're enjoying it so far and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As for our Conference League group, we have Dynamo Zagreb, Sturm Graz, and Odense. Dynamo Zagreb able to retain Livakovic, the 82 rated goalkeeper, up to this point in the save. Brian Teixeira, the decent potential left midfielder, up to a 72 overall. And Odense have the lowest odds in our group, but they have Jakob Broim, a 65 rated left winger. It'll be interesting to see how results this January compare to last year, and for the Premier League, we sit top of the table, just 2 losses from 21 fixtures played, both of those coming in the month of December. And little to my surprise, we also top our Conference League group, 13 points accumulated from 6 matches played. It seems like the improvements we've made across the board have made the difference. Each of our attacking mids are now up to a 90 rating. One small position change as Mudryk now shifts over to the left winger role. And we're also going to continue that clear out of players that no longer make it into the squad. Callum Hudson-Odoi returning back to the Bundesliga, signing with RB Leipzig for 25 million. Ethan Mptu has experienced a lot of loan spells away from Chelsea. He's become a regular in Serie A sides as he now signs with Torino for 8.5 million. Bakayoko, what a player he was in Ultimate Teams of FIFA's past, but he signs with Leicester City for 8.5 million. Baba Rahman leaves on a pre-contract to Al Hilal, where some transfer rumors are linking Lionel Messi to. And onwards we go into the round of 16 of the Conference League, up against Fenerbahce. Their highlighted player is Arda Güler, who I actually just focused a rebuild around with Schalke. I'll leave a link to that here in the top right of your screen. But we win the opening fixture 3-1, despite the missed penalty kick from Tammy. And in the second leg, we were also victorious at home, 2-1, sees us through 5-2 on aggregate. Stade Rennais are up next. They've got plenty of attackers to choose from. Amin Gouiri is probably one of my favorites in career mode. The 83 rated striker will be tough to stop, but we experience a 4-0 victory at Stamford Bridge. A 4-2 win away from home puts us through 8-2 on aggregate into the semifinals against Atalanta. I was also thinking about signing Rasmus Højlund when we were looking for a striker at the start of the season. He was just a little bit too low rated to my liking. And the quality in this Chelsea side continues to shine. A 3-0 win away from home and a 4-0 win in the second leg. 7-0 on aggregate. We've been dominating the Conference League, and now we've got the final to play against Lens. But before that final, we've got a few fixtures remaining in the Premier League, and we have an opportunity to seal the title with 3 matches to go. Once again, it was up against West Ham, and we will once again win the match 2-0. That secures us our first Premier League title of the rebuild, the first one back at Chelsea since 2016. And it's safe to say confidence is high heading into the Conference League final. Recapping the final league results, we finished the season with 93 points. Manchester United, City, and Liverpool round out the top 4. Relegation spots this season going to Nottingham Forest, QPR, and Sheffield United. Crystal Palace were Centurions in the Championship, and Brentford will also gain automatic promotion. Watford winning the playoffs to join them in the Premier League. City go on to win the FA Cup against Wolves 3-1. And the Carabao Cup goes back to Liverpool as they defeat Newcastle 3-2. RB Leipzig, last season's Europa League winners, defeat Real Madrid in the UEFA Super Cup to start the season. PSG get their revenge in the Champions League as they defeat Liverpool. And the Europa League winners were Spurs, defeating Eintracht Frankfurt, a side that won the Europa League not too long ago. A chance for us to secure the double and a match that has a lot of importance to players like Cesar Azpilicueta and Thiago Silva, who both are retiring at the end of the season. Whenever possible, I try to do justice for players that have served the club for such a long time, like Azpi. Over a decade at Chelsea, it's only right we gave him the captain's armband one final time. And as we approach the end of the first half, we do get the opener. It's Raheem Sterling to continue his goal-scoring form from Season 1, giving us the 1-0 lead in the 39th minute. A change in the 77th minute as Thiago Silva also features. There weren't any further highlights, so we're going to close out Season 2 with an extra trophy. We already, of course, qualified for the Conference League, but a European Cup will hopefully give fans a preview of things to come in the Champions League next year. All in all, a very successful season given the competitions we had. As we review top goal scorers, it's Tammy, who continues to improve season after season at Chelsea. He had the second most goals in the Premier League, just a single goal behind Bruno Fernandes. And Sterling's going to continue his output now from the assist category tied with Nkunku for the most assists at the club. Also leading the Premier League in that category, the only player to reach double digits. Not quite winning the Golden Glove Award, but a solid first season from Costa. And a review on some promoted youth academy players. Oliver Dennis, the center back, up +5 during a loan spell at Newcastle, helping them achieve Europa League football next season. There's a couple promising goalkeepers at Chelsea, including Slonina, but McIntosh is going to rival him as he goes up +7 during a season-long loan spell at Besiktas. This is what I mean about Albert Rhodes being an incredible prospect, up +12 during a loan spell at Watford, up to a 78 rating. Hopefully this new batch of promoted youth academy players can be similar potential. Austin Bailey, a 66 rated center attacking mid from England, 87 to 94 potential. Michael Hughes is a 67 rated center back from Wales. The 17-year-old has 75 to 89 potential. Dyer Kelly is now eligible for promotion to the senior team. The Irish right winger is up to a 66 rating and has kept 89 to 94 potential. We also have a decent prospect from Northern Ireland. Niall Wilson is a 59 rated right winger, 81 to 91 potential. Usually I wouldn't be too happy about a 73 manager rating, but considering where we were last season, you couldn't ask for much better. Season 3 and Chelsea are back at the level they should be at, competing each season to win the Premier League and the Champions League. Board expectations continue to be more strict. We once again try to repeat in the Premier League, the FA Cup, and now win the Champions League. Our transfer budget has also gone up accordingly, surpassing 400 million. It's just wild with some of these top teams how much money you have to spend. But my main transfer target for this season is someone that has been linked with Chelsea as well as several other top English sides. That being Declan Rice, a former youth academy player at Chelsea alongside Mason Mount and Trevoh Chalobah. He hasn't signed a new contract extension at West Ham, and I believe he could make for an incredible midfield partnership with Enzo Fernandez, especially with the formation that Lampard favors. For a player of his quality and potential, 80 million doesn't seem all that bad. It was only 13 million more than his current evaluation. And I don't think we're in need of too many more signings. I just want to add a little bit of extra cover and versatility as far as defenders go, kind of following Chelsea's transfer strategy of signing high potential players in career mode with Armel Bella-Kotchap. The former Bochum player has featured consistently for Southampton. It's a shame that they seem to be relegation favorites this season. Time will tell though, still a couple of fixtures remaining in the Premier League, but we'll complete the Bella-Kotchap signing for 15 million. Another situation with the player's contract expiring so we could add him on the cheap. There's still too many players in this Chelsea side, so we'll continue to offload some talent. Marc Cucurella was wanted by Pep at Manchester City, and he's finally going to make it happen with a 55 million transfer away. Conor Gallagher also with a realistic move to Liverpool as they start to rebuild in the center of the park, and Hakim Ziyech transferring to the Bundesliga as he joins RB Leipzig on a 30 million fee. But our season will see its start in the FA Community Shield against Manchester City. Never going to be an easy match, especially with all the high potential players they have, but I think our squad rivals anybody. A 2-1 win in our season opener, 2 first half goals from Nkunku and Sterling. That'll be another trophy added within the span of a few months, and the first one that Reece James will be lifting. Happy to give him the captain's armband as part of our youth academy. Honestly, a pretty easy road ahead in the Premier League, and how about that for a league opener? 4-0 as Tammy's goal output continues in season 3. As for our Champions League group, I think we've had a favorable draw with AC Milan, Sporting, and Rangers. Always happy to check up on former players, and Christian Pulisic remaining at an 85 rating over in Italy. Marcus Edwards, a former Spurs Academy player, is at an 84 overall with Sporting, and recently called up German international Berisha is at an 80 rating for Rangers. It's going to be hard for us to match our progress that we were at in season 2, but we are again in the running for the Premier League. Just a single loss as United top the table as they are unbeaten. To be honest, points were pretty well distributed in our Champions League group, but we still had 14 points from all fixtures and didn't lose a single match. There are a couple of concerns though in our starting 11, specifically at right wing. You can see Kai Havertz is on the bench as he's recovering from an injury. Fortunately, we have Mason Mount, who's always going to be one of the players that Lampard can count on and knows what he can contribute. Hopefully, Kai should be able to return in our first Champions League fixture, albeit being against Barcelona. So hopefully we can get by them. And another former Chelsea Youth Academy player with Jamal Musiala making the transfer to Spain. A great outing in the first leg. 2 first half goals from Abraham gives us the advantage, and it was a 1-1 draw at Stamford Bridge to put us through 3-1 on aggregate up against Atleti in the quarterfinals. Our team's back to full strength, and Atleti continues to improve as well. Jude Bellingham signing with them at an 89 overall. A good resurgence from us in the second half. 2 unanswered goals gives us a 2-1 advantage, and another 2 unanswered goals in the second leg puts us through 4-1 on aggregate into the semifinals and an English opponent in Manchester City. No shortage of players to highlight for them. Unsurprisingly, Cucurella hasn't developed too much since he transferred, but it's a 1-0 win and a clean sheet in the away fixture. Of course, we had the advantage at home, and we stopped City from scoring at all, advancing 3-0 on aggregate into the Champions League final against PSG. It's another matchup for us against a former player, Lukaku, at an 84 rating. I'm curious to see what sort of formation PSG will be using, but we can't yet play that fixture as we've got a lot of competitions to check up on, starting in the FA Cup final, a competition that we haven't yet won in this rebuild until this point. A 2-0 win in a dominant fashion as we secured 12 shots throughout the match. That'll be our second trophy of the season. We're looking to win 4 competitions as we check on results in the Premier League. It's another London derby, this time against Spurs. We really can't afford to drop too many points because if we do, then we're just a match away from United potentially leapfrogging us in the standings. I was expecting a tough match, especially with one of our former players, Antonio Rudiger, signing at Tottenham, but it was a 2-0 win, both goals coming from Nkunku. Back-to-back Premier League titles, and we are continuing to dominate England in a resounding fashion. And to make matters even better, that injury to Abraham is only going to leave him out for a week, so he should be ready for the Champions League final. With just one fixture remaining in the season, we can review results around the world. We end up winning the Prem, 5 points clear of United. Relegation spots this season going to Crystal Palace, Norwich, and Watford. Nottingham Forest and Sheffield United securing those automatic promotions spots. Bournemouth will join them in the Premier League. And counting up all the trophies that we've secured this year, beginning the season with the FA Community Shield against City, then going on to win the FA Cup against Arsenal. The Carabao Cup, though, went to Liverpool as they defeated Aston Villa. PSG might also be looking for the treble. I'm assuming they won Ligue 1, so Champions League final would achieve that for them. Juventus went on to win the Europa League against Stade Rennais, and Wolfsburg get the win against Arsenal in the Conference League. As far as goals go, Nkunku led the club 32 from 57. He was also joint top with Victor Osimhen in the Premier League and the Golden Boot Award. Nkunku also had the most assists of the club, 13 from 57. Kai Havertz and Raheem Sterling actually ahead of him as far as Premier League assists go, with Victor Osimhen leading the way in this category. And another season where Costa was pretty much up there with being the best Premier League goalkeeper, sharing the Golden Glove Award with Ederson. I think it's fair to say we've got some great youth academy players. Dennis up to an 84 rating at Atalanta. Rhodes spent half a season on loan in Spain. He's up to an 84 overall. And McIntosh actually stayed in the Premier League at Wolves, achieving a 78 rating. We were curious about the PSG tactics, and they seem to have switched formations to a 5-3-2, Lukaku included in that starting 11. Some good storylines for this Champions League fixture. PSG reaching the final in all 3 seasons of the rebuild, and Nkunku matching up against his former team, as Sterling actually started the match with a really good burst of play. We're pretty much right after kickoff, and he gets inside the 18-yard box, will challenge Donnarumma, who goes on to make a good save, but the pressure continues. Good awareness to find Tammy in the middle, and we'll switch play. Declan Rice finds Kai Havertz, and 7 minutes in, we were all over PSG, and we will get that opener, showing that right from the start, we're looking for goals. Nkunku is going to be denied by the woodwork, as PSG very fortunate not to be down 2 goals at this point, but Lukaku will actually manage to test the keeper now. A lot of highlights in this Champions League final, and off of a corner kick, Mbappe gets inside the box. He's just looking for the open player. Marquinhos ends up playing Lukaku, and against his former side, he will draw things level. So everything to play for, but it's going to reach extra time as well as the full 120 minutes without another goal being scored. That means that this Champions League final will be decided by penalties, just like it was in 2012 when Chelsea last won this competition. If you have the means, go ahead and rewatch the highlights from that penalty kick shootout. Petr Cech actually guessed the right way on each of the pens. Just goes to show how incredible of a goalkeeper he was. And heading into this shootout, it really was tense. Both of us missing a chance, so it's going to get nervy here towards the end with us taking the second penalty kick, but we stayed good and continued to convert our chances, including Mudryk, who Lampard has been keen on signing ever since he was boss at Everton. He wanted to make this transfer happen, and I thought it was fitting that he would score the winning penalty kick for us.